Doug Deakin, San Diego State's assistant coach, joins us here on 97.3 The Fan. Doug, how are you today, man?
I'm awesome. Just got off the practice field. Let's talk Aztec football. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, our pleasure. We love talking Aztec football. Let me ask you this, because I haven't seen it, or I didn't see Rocky address it this week. Maybe he was asked it and didn't want to address it. 11 penalties in the ballgame at Stanford. I kind of thought it was a little one-sided personally, but then I bleed red and black. How much of that was undisciplined Aztec play? And how much, you know what I'm saying, how much of that can you guys put on the Aztecs?
Well, we were guilty of all of the penalties when we watched on film. There wasn't anything that was a ghost call on us, so we are certainly not making any excuses. We were holding or we were offsides. Certainly offsides penalties takes no talent. It is strictly discipline, so that's certainly one there. On special teams, we had a holding penalty on a punt return, and that was an aggressive penalty, but it was unnecessary too. As a player was working his tail off to hold up a guy on punt return, he kind of got tangled up and then pulled him down. So that's something that gets addressed in the meeting, you know, how we can play smarter and disciplined. But we were guilty of the penalties we were called on.
Doug, when you guys looked at the film, could you talk a little bit about the offensive line, how they graded out, and what you were happy about, and maybe something you weren't happy about that you guys have really focused in on working this week, getting ready for Sac State?
Oh, it's working in unison. All it takes is one breakdown, whether it's assignment or technique, and the play gets foiled. Otherwise, the guys came off the football. We were able to establish the run early. We had some series that sputtered, but for the most part, Jawan was running and Jasmine was running through some gaping holes. So we are back to work here this week. We've got to work better together, and it's going to take all 11, not just the offensive line, but quarterback getting into great run checks and receivers that are blocking support players, and then obviously the tailbacks pouring it up in there.
Aztec assistant coach Doug Deakin is with us as the Aztecs get set to take on Sac State Saturday home opener following a matchup with number 10 Stanford over the weekend. You know, Coach, again, Rocky talked to us before the game and said, look, we have a chance to beat Stanford, and we have to play obviously very well. We know they're going to play well. We need a few bounces of the football to go our way. I kind of felt it was one of those games where maybe some of the bounces did not go the Aztecs' way. They get a punt that rolls out of bounds at the half-yard line. They fumbled a punt, got it overturned on replay. You guys intercept a pass. Noble Hall doesn't see the guy coming, knocks the football loose. They wind up recovering it right before halftime and go down and score. I know you can't cry over spilt milk, but my point, I guess, is are there some positives you can still take away from this game, even though you wind up losing at 31-10?
Yeah, we have to. We're not. The season isn't over. We didn't go 1-0. That's the objective every week. There's a lot to learn from that. As far as his elbow's down there on that punt that we cover down and caused that fumble. We're in great position to recover there. Unfortunately, his elbow's down. No big deal. Line up, play again. We get an interception, as you said. We fumble it. That's a very unfortunate thing, and momentum swings the other way as they put it in the end zone. Now, where we can go from there is being mentally tougher, as Coach talks about being mentally and physically tougher. Those are going to be adverse moments we're going to face throughout the season that we will need to collectively as a staff and as a team come together and make sure that we right the ship. And it just takes one play after that to get the momentum back in our favor, and that's what we're doing this week to make sure we're focused on Sac State and one play at a time.
Doug, I talked about the offensive line, and for the folks out there that may not be aware, you work with the tight ends, but you're also the special teams coordinator. And over the last several years, with some of the guys, Pumphrey, and obviously with Rashad Penny, special teams been some of the best in the business, no question about it. Where were you after you graded out the film on all the different special teams? Were you happy with the performance? Because special teams, let's face it, that's one thing. It's really hard to get game-like situations in practice, and really you find out about it the first game of the year.
There's no question the speed of the game's a lot different than the scout look they get on the week prep. So that certainly was the case, but I thought we played with great effort. The guys out there knew where to go. We're playing hard, and we've got to play better. When I talk about grading it out, we've just got to create more production. We've got to create better field position with our kicker and our punter. We had 2 punts that were over 50, and then the other 4 were not. So those are something as special teams are called upon. It's being sound, and then it's creating field position, and then obviously momentum too. That potential fumble that could have been would be an example of one of those huge momentum plays, and that's what we talk about every day in the meeting room and then go practice. So that's our emphasis this week, is being sound, playing with that great effort they did show this last Friday, and then this time really capitalizing on big momentum plays.
Doug, last thing for me, the passing game statistically wasn't all that bad, 10 out of 15, but I thought Chapman took 2 or 3 sacks perhaps that you wouldn't want him to take, or you'd like to see him get rid of the football if he could. Again, and that's a big question mark. I mean, the running game has been spectacular for the last several years. Passing game hasn't yet caught up to that. Where'd you think it stood after week 1?
Well, we can certainly get better there as well. I thought some big plays in the passing game. Was good to see tackles broken. For instance, number 6, Tim Wilson, was a bright spot with run after the catch, knocking over a Stanford would-be tackler. We've got some explosive guys on the perimeter and in the backfield. And then we've got to capitalize. We got to find open receivers. We've got to get open for Christian Chapman sooner. And then from there, once we got the ball in our hands, we've got to secure it, and then we've got to make a tackler miss, and we will be off and running.
Hey, Doug, I wanted to ask you, you guys got Sacramento State this week. The following week, you've got Arizona State, and the following week after that, you got Eastern Michigan. You guys have got 3 straight home games. How much does that help you guys as far as not having on the road and travel and kind of take away maybe from that last day of practice during the week this early in the year to be able to play 3 straight home games in your stadium?
Well, I have no idea, other than I think that it will be a benefit in the sense you have to get on an airplane and fly somewhere on away games. You're in a hotel in some other location the night before. But other than that, we're worried about Sac State this week at home, Sky Show. It's like the 4th of July on steroids after the game, and we hope to be striking up the band here this Saturday and create some fireworks this Saturday versus Sac State, and then we'll worry about the next game after that. But this week's a home game. The guys are jacked up. We always have a great crowd, and then especially with the Sky Show this week, I think the guys are going to do everything they can to make San Diego proud and then go 1-0. All
right, Doug, thanks for the time as always. Look forward to catching up with you soon, and Red and Black back on the attack this Saturday. Good luck.
Good luck.